should be managed. And when they talk about restrictions coming off on July the 19th, do you think that should be all? 0345 6060 973. We'll be back in Dallas and take your calls in just a few moments. Tom Torwick here. 6:16 is the time. News headlines now. Thomas Watts.
England players Mason Mount and Ben Chilwell are self-isolating after coming into contact with Scotland midfielder Billy Gilmore, who's tested positive for COVID-19. Boris Johnson's played down suggestions of a widespread easing of travel rules, but says changes for people who've had 2 jabs are under consideration. And Nicola Sturgeon's defended a red mask travel ban on people from Greater Manchester entering Scotland. The weather dry and clear for many tonight, with heavy rain in southeast England and low of 4 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Louise Knight, and there's now 10 miles of slow traffic on the clockwise M25 from 29 for the A127 to an accident, and junction 1B for Dartford, only 2 lanes are running. Further clockwise, it's heavy to Godstone at 6 after an earlier accident, although anti-clockwise, the broken down car near South Mims at 23 is gone. The M1's down to 2 lanes out of town after Hemel Hempstead at 8 with an accident. There are delays in Purley after an earlier accident on Brighton Road, although it has been cleared. There are delays around Harbour Square in the centre of town because of a demonstration, and queues heading south over Vauxhall Bridge where a bus has broken down. Onto the trains, London North Western have delays from Watford Junction to St Albans Abbey. London Overground now have a good service at Surrey Quays though, and just minor delays on London Tramlink.
This is LBC. Since a top celebrity was seen in one of Maya's dresses last month, the online orders have been flying in.
I need a logistics manager. Yesterday.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on hiring the person you need to help your business grow. If you're ready for Indeed to help your business get back to hiring, simply visit Indeed.com/try today. That's Indeed.com/try today. This is LBC.
All adults without symptoms can now get free rapid COVID-19 testing kits.
The test kits are really important. Even if you've had the vaccine, you should still be testing. Regular rapid testing helps us spot outbreaks more quickly, which reduces the risk of overwhelming hospitals and more lockdowns.
Tests are easy to use and give results in less than 30 minutes. Order yours today at nhs.uk/get tested or call 119.
So I saw Claire on Tuesday at the salon and she said,
I want to get a car for meal speed.
and I said, that sounds like a fair trade. And she said,
No, I want to get him a sporty little convertible.
and I said, you need Cinch. And she said,
Cinch.
yeah, Cinch. Cinch lets you buy a quality check used car online. No haggling, with delivery included and a 14-day money-back guarantee. And she said,
So I'm the boss.
and I said, you're in the driving seat now, babe. Cinch. Cars without the faff. UK mainland delivery only. T's and C's apply.
Would your cat like peace of mind from Pets in a Pickle Pet Insurance? That's a yes from her. Visit petsinnapickle.co.uk.
Here's a clever idea. Interhigh is the complete independent school online. So when life brings changes, your children won't need to change schools. From Year 4 to A-level, when you choose Interhigh, the top quality education from UK qualified teachers just needs an internet connection. Register now and start this September. Visit interhigh.co.uk. School is changing. Rediscover learning with Interhigh, the independent online school.
Your office is outdoors. The aircon is the elements Mother Nature serves up. You carry the earth that shapes the landscapes, the bricks that build the homes to keep us warm, the feed that grows the greens that bring colour to our Sunday roasts. For the tireless outdoor workers, this is your cargo bed. The Ford Ranger Wildtrak, the UK's best-selling pickup. It can carry a ton, it can pull 3.5 tons, and it can do it all off-road in whatever Mother Nature serves up. The Ford Ranger Wildtrak, built for the office in the wild. We're with you on this journey. Ford Commercial Vehicles. Search Backbone of Britain.
For verification, search SMMT New Van Market 2021.
Choice of brands, range of products, availability of stock. Getting what you need for any decorating or DIY project you've got on means having a supplier you can trust. That's why your local Leyland SDM is always well worth a look. With thousands of products for all kinds of professions and projects, plus expert advice on hand, we're open every day. To find what you need, find your local store or shop online at leylandsdm.co.uk. Tom Swarbrick, tweet at LBC.
How should normal life restart when if restrictions
themselves safe. There are advantages to that in the sense that individual communities can choose what they want to do, but the disadvantages are that it doesn't take a very strong public health approach. Then, an individual cannot keep themselves completely safe with a public health outbreak. But if COVID comes up again, it's hard to say. I would be surprised, honestly, if the governor increased restrictions. I think once the restrictions come off, it's hard to say if they're ever going to come back here. That's going to be quite different in many other states.
What's been the response? I mean, it varies, but has there been much of a response that says, whoa, hang on, this is far too quick, this is too much too soon, you're taking liberties with people's health, we need more restrictions?
There have been some people saying that, but they are in the minority. Texas is a very pull up your bootstraps, I want to be free and choose what I want to do kind of thing. And so what you see is in the rural areas, they never really wanted masks in the first place ever at all. In the cities, there's a much greater desire for people to have it, and there's a lot of concern, especially among parents,
where you're going has the maximum possible safety. And I think we're going to need it. And I know that this absolutely riles people, and people say this isn't how we do things in this country. We're a free nation, we're a liberal nation, we don't require papers, please. And I completely understand that. But if this is the way of bringing back the freedom that we all want as quickly as possible, I genuinely think it's a no-brainer. I genuinely think we're going to have to do it in the winter time, particularly when the flu's around, and when people are just generally a bit iller because they've circulated with one another a bit more. I think we're going to need this. I think it might be helpful to have it as soon as possible, and certainly when every single adult in this country has been offered at least one jab, maybe two jabs. That's the time we're going to need it the most, in order that we don't have mass panic when COVID cases rise, in order that we don't have, for example, people like Mason Mount and Ben Chilwell, the England footballers, who are now isolating, having been in contact of a Scottish footballer who has tested positive for coronavirus, threatening, I'm afraid, not just the entire England squad and Scotland squad, but the whole competition in this room. 0345 6060 973 is the number. Continue to take your calls. We'll be in Norway a little bit later as well, where one of the scientists there, their health chief, has declared the COVID pandemic over. We'll also hear in a bit from the England manager Gareth Southgate about that isolation of two key players, Mason Mount and Ben Chilwell, after coming into contact with a COVID positive Scottish player. Top story on LBC, 6:32. News headlines now. Thomas Wells.
Ben Chilwell and Mason Mount will miss England's final group game against the Czech Republic at Euro 2020 tomorrow. The pair are isolating after coming into contact with Scotland midfielder and Chelsea teammate Billy Gilmore, who's tested positive for COVID-19. Boris Johnson suggested travel quarantine rules may be relaxed for people who've had 2 COVID jabs. The Prime Minister's played down the prospect, though, of a widespread lifting of border restrictions, and says it will continue to be a difficult year for foreign travel. Sir Geoffrey Donaldson has confirmed he's put his name forward to become the next leader of the DUP. The Lagan Valley MP is not expected to be opposed following the bruising leadership battle with Edward Poots last month. The weather, rain easing in southern England, but some heavy showers continuing in the southeast. Elsewhere, dry with some clear spells and turning quite chilly, a low of 4 degrees.
This is LBC.
Are you an EU citizen who is living in the UK by 31st of December 2020? If so, you must check if you need to apply to the EU settlement scheme for your children, even if you have already applied for yourself. This will protect your children's existing rights to things such as further and higher education and free healthcare in the UK. The deadline is the 30th of June 2021. Don't leave it too late. Check if you need to apply for your children today at gov.uk/EU settlement scheme. Irish citizens or those with valid indefinite leave don't need to apply.
What makes me smile? My daughter. But keeping up with her can be a challenge. Climbing trees, playing football, being a princess. You learn a lot being a dad. My glasses aren't always perfect for playtime. So I tried contact lenses. Got 50% off my first 3-month subscription at Specsavers, which means I can concentrate on being the most beautiful princess in all the kingdom. That's something to smile about.
Offer ends 3rd of July. Conditions apply. Book at specsavers.co.uk today.
It's hard to imagine. It's already been over a year since COVID entered our lives, changing the way we live and affecting all of us and our families in so many ways. If your marriage has become strained during this time, and there's no hope of saving it, Cordell is ready to help with experienced divorce solicitors for family law advice and dedicated legal help. Visit cordell.co.uk today to schedule an initial consultation. cordell.co.uk. And if so, what should remain in place? And you look around the world and you see what's happening in Israel or Texas, we'll be in Norway in just a moment. If you're listening to us in different countries across Europe, maybe in France, or you're in Spain, or you're in Italy, or you're in Hong Kong, or I don't know, it's a country that is starting to come out of this as we are, what are they doing there to help manage it in a way that is safe, but in a way that does give as much freedom back as is possible? The idea, I think, that we're going to go straight from this to a Texan-style all-out freedom, you decide, I just don't think it's going to happen, and I think a lot of people might end up being incredibly disappointed as a result. 0345 6060 973. Let's get to Norway. Friedrich Dreven is a journalist who is based in Oslo. Thank you for joining the programme, Friedrich. I note that your health chief has declared COVID over. How?
Well, I think this is a vast topic. It's hard to pin down exactly, but we have a very low death toll. We have only 790 people died from corona, and that's extremely low. If you compare to Sweden, they had a 20 times higher death toll at 14,537. So that has been a successful strategy mostly, and it's basically over. But we still feel some of the last effects of the measures, and society isn't exactly open yet.
I note from the figures 28% of adults in Norway have been fully vaccinated, 42% have had one dose, so the percentage rates are much further behind where the UK is. How much freedom do you have? What restrictions remain?
Yeah, the vaccine program has been very slow, and that's a bit shocking for an advanced country. But we are catching on, and the society is very well organized, and there's a high trust in the government policy. So people are following the measures, and that's probably explains the success. And now we are not required anymore to wear a face mask outside. And most things are open, and bars are open, cinemas are open.
And when you say
there is a social distance policy still in place, so most things are open.
Open that with conditions attached, that you have to stay 1 metre plus or 2 metres away from people, rather than open as back in February 2020.
Yeah, correct. But you don't have to wear a face mask in shops anymore. That's not required anymore. And we don't know at this point what are the costs of all these heavy measures, because there will be probably some long-term costs in the social and financial aspect, because so many things have been shut down. But I think that a good thing we can draw from this is Norway's survived as a democracy, and with our rule of law. And one example is that the Prime Minister herself, back in February, broke her own social distancing rules. So she hosted a sushi party at a ski retreat, and she was fined €2,000 by the police, and she accepted the fine. And that is a good thing for the rule of law, and would not probably be possible in several other countries. So I think that's a good thing, but we shouldn't be patting ourselves too much on the back before we know the long-term consequences.
And now that it's been declared, COVID has been declared over by the health chief in Norway, are many Norwegians now saying, well, we can get rid of the restrictions that apply to social distancing, we can go back to February 2020?
Yeah, many people are now ready just to go on with their lives, and I think people are